Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone's doing all right. I hope everyone's staying safe and healthy during these really crazy times. I wanted to come on here and touch bases. I know it's been a good minute since I've uploaded a video on here. A lot's been going on, both in the world and even in my own personal life, and all the changes that happen, with living normal life. So I just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit more about why I kind of took a break, and more than likely why I'll continue to take a break on this channel and focus more on posting on my other channel, which will focus on like natural hair and beauty and various things like that. So if you're interested in hearing more, please stay tuned. I wanted to talk about one of the main reasons that I started this channel in the first place. I have, you've probably known by me talking about my experience as a Jehovah's Witness on this channel, that I left the religion over 6 years ago. And in those 6 years, I've tried to heal. I've tried to move on. And in a lot of ways, I was able to move on. But in a lot of ways, I still struggled with some of the issues as part of being in the religion. And for years, I really wanted to get my story out there. But again, I was really camera shy and kind of afraid, even of what people would think and who would see my story. But I decided, as another part of healing, to go ahead and tell my story so that not only would I heal, but I may help others in the process. So that's why I started the channel. And it really did fill the purpose that I needed it to. It really helped me to heal. One of the things that I used to do a lot is after I recorded and posted my videos, I'd go back and watch my own videos. If I was feeling some kind of way about a specific issue that I struggled with as a result of being in the organization, I'd go back and watch the video. And it was almost a type of therapy for me. So even being able to go back, help heal myself, and in the process, others could relate to my story and be helped by my story, it was kind of an amazing thing. So I noticed lately I haven't been to my channel as much. I feel like I've moved on a whole lot more than I really actually thought I would when it comes to, still healing my scars from the organization. So one of the reasons I kind of took a break was that I really frankly didn't need to film a lot of my experiences anymore. I was healing. I was feeling better. I'm still continuing to heal. I don't even go back and watch my videos as much as I used to. So I kind of didn't feel as inclined to film as often as I did. And I guess that's the wonderful thing about moving on from leaving the Jehovah's Witness organization, is that you're able to eventually not identify yourself, as I mentioned in my other videos, by your struggle, both being in the organization and moving from the organization. So the fact that I'm able to move away from that, I don't think about it as often. It doesn't even come in my conversations as often as it used to. I feel like that's really a step in the right direction. And even as I mentioned earlier, I knew I was going to come to a point where I wasn't going to feel as inclined to talk about it as much. And so I really feel like for myself, I'm happy that I've gotten to that point. Another blessing that I found when starting my YouTube channel and doing my videos, was that I was able to, get in contact with a lot of other former Jehovah's Witnesses, both inside and outside of various communities. And that's been a wonderful thing. Just getting to know new people of different backgrounds, finding our similarities and differences, talking about those things, and again, being able to heal and even help other people kind of heal from that trauma of being in the Jehovah's Witness religion. But I do have some issues as far as when it comes to the ex-Jehovah's Witness community as a whole. And so I'm kind of finding that I'm more and more wanting to distance myself from that, which is unfortunate, but for my own sanity, I choose to do that. But I do want to talk about some of the issues here as well. One of the first issues I'll address is kind of difference in opinions and beliefs and things like that. I find we all have the same thing in common. We've all left a very dangerous, very toxic religion that in the process we've lost a lot of family and friends that we grew up with. And that's a lot in itself. And we've all gone in different directions. We've all had different paths that we decide to do. Some people have made a decision that while Jehovah's Witnesses claim they're Christian, they're not really Christian, and they want to find a true Christianity they found from their understanding of the Bible or whatnot, that they want to basically embrace what they feel is true Christianity. And so they go in that path. Some people, they're kind of done with religion. They don't want anything to do with it. They find that all religions are a problem. And they kind of go their own way. Some people they decide that, concepts such as God and Christ in the Bible, they don't believe in that anymore. So they choose to go in that path. And so, I feel like as a community, we should be respectful of all of those things. I feel like I'm in a kind of an awkward spot because, as I talked about it in one of my previous videos, my path, when I left initially, I was like, well, Jehovah's Witnesses are doing it all wrong. They're not real Christians. I'm going to embrace Christianity. And now through my readings of the Bible and kind of my understanding of God and Christ, I kind of feel differently. But I still believe in those things. I still believe in the Bible. I still believe in God, and I still believe in Christ. And so those play an active role in my life. But sometimes I feel like things are pigeonholed. People assume certain things just because you believe in those things, that something is wrong with that. Or just because you don't believe in those things, that something is wrong with that. And I feel like as a community, sometimes it's important to kind of agree to disagree and not necessarily attack each other because of what we may or may not believe in. And I feel like that's a huge issue in the community on both sides. And sometimes it kind of, it's a little hurtful at times. Again, sometimes I feel like the odd person out, which is okay. But, even at times, sometimes on my own social media, it's like I sometimes have to filter myself because I'm like, oh, if I post this and it's talking about spirituality, what if somebody on my friends list who feels differently might get offended? Or if I post that, I've censored myself a lot. And at this point, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to talk about what I want to talk about. And if you feel differently, it is what it is. All of this kind of going back and forth and, it's a difference between respectfully debating or discussing beliefs and kind of attacking each other because we believe differently. And I feel like that's a huge issue in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community. And at this point, I kind of want to distance myself from that. So now and in the future, I'm going to stop worrying about censoring myself on Facebook, especially when it comes to spirituality and God and what I believe in, as well as in just various social medias. I'm not going to be as afraid of liking what I like and retweeting what I retweet or what have you, or whatever I post. If it has to do with God, Christ, or the Bible, what have you, I'm going to post it. And I respect your opinions or your disagreements on it. But if you're offended on what I post, it is what it is. I'm sorry in advance. If you choose to distance yourself from me because you don't support what I believe in, I respect that. It is what it is. But I'm tired of censoring myself. I'm trying to work on that natural people pleaser attitude that I try to have and pacifying people and worrying, and saying, okay, I'm going to be careful what I say because I don't want this person to be offended. I'm going to stop doing that. And that's part of growth when it comes to moving on from the organization. Respecting that people will not necessarily agree with what you agree with or won't believe what you believe in. And so I'm going to work on that on myself, especially since I kind of observed that the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, it seems like it's going to be very hard for people to kind of get along and, come to a compromise despite the difference in beliefs or whatnot, without it turning into something ugly, without it being a debate or what have you. And I'm at this point, I'm going to kind of distance myself from that. Now, the final issue that I'm going to discuss when it comes to issues in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community is something that really doesn't have to do with beliefs and opinions. It's something that people do need to recognize and address, especially with all the events going on, especially in the United States and just around the world. And if you don't recognize that this is a problem, then in my opinion, you're part of the problem. And so in this case, I'll talk about two forms of what I feel like is kind of discrimination within not just the whole world, but within the ex-Jehovah's Witness community. And the two areas are, and I've talked about the first one before, discrimination among women who are part of the community. I feel like that's still a huge issue. There are a lot of women, both in and out the organization, who have escaped from the organization and have dealt with a lot of different issues, whether it's been with child abuse, whether it's been spousal abuse, just general abuse, verbal abuse or whatnot, and even sexual abuse. And a lot of those women are dealing with that issue and those traumas. And I find that in the community, that's kind of ignored. A lot of times, women who may be dealing with, or actually, matter of fact, there's some issues with some men who may have those tendencies of not realizing that some of their behavior is abuse. And you have women that have left the organization that are vulnerable and that are still struggling with different things. And unfortunately, they're preyed upon. And so that happens. And when those women choose to talk about it, or when they try to get help and reach out to other members in the community, they're often ignored. They're often told they're liars. And in some cases, they're often shunned from the community altogether. And to me, that's a big problem. It doesn't matter whether you're a prominent male member of the ex-Jehovah's Witness community or not. You do need to recognize that there are problems and address those. And if you have engaged in such predatory behavior, you need to acknowledge it and apologize from it and change from it. And it seems like a lot of people are ignoring these things. The women that speak on it are often viewed as crazy, as domineering, that they're doing too much. And they're addressing an issue that continues to be a problem even today in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community. And these are things that we really should have left behind in the organization. And it seems like a lot of activists, even some more prominent ones, it seems like they kind of want to ignore it, almost save their channel, because some of them are affiliated with people who are part of the problem, and I think that's a problem as well. At this time, I'm tired of seeing people talk about it, seeing them being shouted down. I'm tired of addressing it myself and people trying to defend these people. And at this point, I just want to distance myself from all of that. The other issue I find, now, of course, this is not just in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, but this is just period, worldwide, nationwide, is issues with race and colorism. I find that that's kind of not talked about a lot in the ex-Jehovah's Witness communities as much. And I even find when I post on some of the mainstream communities, like in the past, when I say, these are the experiences I've dealt with, you have a lot of people who are minorities like me, who have dealt with those issues and can relate. But then you have some people that even go as far as to kind of be apologists for that type of behavior. The Jehovah's Witness organization has a clear history of both racism and colorism. It's even printed in their magazines. And they continue to have issues to this day. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who are part of the community that are kind of like, oh, well, out of all the religions, the Jehovah's Witness religion is the least racist out of all of them. And in my opinion, you can't talk about something you haven't experienced. So kind of, again, brushing off, downplaying the issues that a lot of minorities, a lot of black people have dealt with when it comes to racism and even colorism, discriminating against people because of the color of their skin. Don't just downplay that. These people have lived through it. They've experienced it, myself included, and that needs to be talked about and not ignored. Yeah, I've even seen where it comes to a point that some of these activists, even some who are minorities, are downplaying the issues of racism. And to me, talking about that just to kind of keep your audience, that's a problem. And I don't want to be a part of that anymore, And that includes people who are part of the community. I don't care what your political views are or what have you. You need to recognize that racism is an issue, not just in this nation, but in the world. And brushing it off, telling people to get over it, telling people as far as the institutionalized racism that black people specifically have gone through for centuries is not as big of a deal as it is. Again, you are part of the problem. And so, all of these events that are happening in the world today are showing you that there's still a problem. And there's a lot of people, even in this community, that are kind of ignoring that. Now, to my credit, there's a lot of folks, especially when I see on social media, like on Facebook and Twitter, even non-black people that are in support and that recognize that there is a problem. But unfortunately, a lot of those people have been kind of cast out of the Ex-Jehovah's Witness communities because, again, they don't fit into the mold. So that's really sad that some of the mainstream folks that do fit in, that they kind of are keeping silent on these matters or downplaying it and saying it's not as big of a problem as it is. So I have an issue with that. And so at this point, instead of kind of fighting that and continuing to talk about that in the community, I'm just going to kind of worry about that as an individual, say my piece. And unfortunately, I kind of have to distance myself from people who don't recognize that. So that's another thing, another reason why I'm kind of distancing myself from the Ex-Jehovah's Witness community. So those are pretty much my thoughts for today and my reasons for kind of distancing myself from the Ex-Jehovah's Witness communities. I basically don't follow any of them, even ones that people have established, that I'm Facebook friends with. I don't really follow them much anymore because, there's just so many issues that kind of need to be resolved. And it's been years, and I at this point, I don't think it'll ever be resolved, or ever be, resolved in a way that people can continue to feel welcome in these communities. But I do encourage you guys who have left the organization to continue to heal, continue to find ways to move away from this organization, whether it's to seek professional help, reach out to people, and various things. Just try to find ways to heal so that you come to a point where the organization is not the trauma that you dealt with in the organization doesn't continue to haunt your life. So that's what I hope you guys continue to do. So I guess if I feel like it, I may post once every blue moon on this channel, but I'm going to focus more on my other channel, which I'll put in the description box. So if you want to check that out, if that's in your interest. I'm going to continue to promote some of the other Ex-Jehovah's Witness activists in the description box of my videos. The videos that I've already recorded will continue to stay up. So if you want to check those out, that's great. And I just wish you guys very well. I'm friends with a lot of you guys on social media. So, I'm pretty active on quite a few things for the most part. Occasionally I may take a break from it with all the stuff that's going on. But at this point, I feel like now's the time for me to kind of distance myself, become my own person. I've thankfully healed a lot from where I was even a year ago, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for, the people who I've met and who I've chatted with on social media, who've dealt with similar experiences, and, and I've related to their experiences as well. So I hope everyone continues to stay safe. Please stay healthy. both mentally, physically, and spiritually, if you believe in that. So hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Much love.